Hi, I'm Les Moreland. I'm the current commander, AMVETS Post 2006 here in Leesburg, Florida. And we're a proud sponsor of Central Florida Salute on the YouTube channel. I'd like to have you check us out on our Facebook page or whatever. Our address is 500 North Canal Street in Leesburg, Florida. To all you veterans out there, come by and see us. We salute you for your service and thank you very much.
Hello and welcome to Central Florida Salute YouTube. I am Bob Peters, your host, and I'm here once again, as always, at the Eagles 4273 in beautiful Oklahoma, Florida. And I have the pleasure of having Mr. Paul Crowley, better known as PK, who reached the rank of Bird Colonel in the United States Army. And it's nice to have you here. May I call you PK?
You certainly may.
Can you tell me a little bit about yourself? Where are you born and originally from?
Sure. I was born in upstate New York in 1932, and I graduated from high school at Valley Forge Military Academy because I anticipated a military career. And I went to college in upstate New York, but I never got my degree until years later in Kansas. I joined the Army in '54, and my first chore, of course, was typical enlisted man recruiting and working at Fort Dix, New Jersey. And then I went to officer school, and I got a degree, got my my commission in 1954.
So you what made you go to the Army?
What?
You always wanted to go in the Army, you said? You always wanted to be in the military?
I just wanted to, yes.
Did you have family that was in
No, my family was all Navy.
Oh.
When I got my commission, I was very active. So I went to Fort Bragg, to the 82nd Airborne Division, where I got my training in airborne operations.
So you parachuter? You jumped out of planes?
I have jumped 53 times.
Wow. On purpose, huh?
53. To include one in combat in Vietnam.
So you went in right around the end of Korea, right? Korea was 54, was it? Or 55. When did Korea end?
Yeah, my career was all Army. It was all Army. And in the later years, I got involved in intelligence, and I became a military attaché.
Okay. Let's go back a little bit.
Okay.
When did you go to Vietnam?
60, 61.
60, 61.
62. Yeah.
Okay. So you were in the infantry then? Infantry?
No, I was a field artillery officer.
Artillery officer, okay. So in 1960, 61, you went to Vietnam, and you were in artillery?
Yeah.
Yeah. And what rank were you then? What rank were you then?
Captain.
You were a captain?
Yes.
Wow.
I made major when I was in Vietnam.
Okay.
I was promoted to major when I was in Vietnam.
So when you got out of Vietnam, where'd you go? You said something
The
about
Pentagon.
Pentagon.
Yeah.
What did you do in the Pentagon?
A rather unusual position. I was in the inspections division of that portion that was required to go out and make inspections of other of all the bases. All the Army bases had to be inspected every year, and I was a part of the crew that would go out and inspect, having certain things we're looking for. And that was not a significant part of my career, of course, but I did serve in the Pentagon, and
So when you were doing these inspections, what were you looking for? Make sure the supply of ammo and all that, or what?
just to check to see if the various bases were following the instructions coming out of the Pentagon. That's all.
Okay. So you did that for a while, then where did you go?
I got involved in foreign country. I went to Sweden.
Oh, how'd you like that?
I loved it.
Yeah.
I loved it. My son met his wife there. Yeah, I went to Sweden as a U.S. Army attaché. And as you may know, the attachés are involved in intelligence. Their job is to represent the U.S. Army. And I was the representative of the U.S. Army to Sweden. And I did a 3-year tour there. Then I came back home and went to language school again. I had to go to language school to qualify for the military attaché job in Sweden. I had to speak Swedish.
Oh.
And understand and read it. So anyway, when I came home from that assignment, I got retrained, and then I went as a military attaché to Egypt.
Did you have to learn the language there too?
To get by, yes.
Yeah.
To
Wow.
get by, not well. I wasn't a linguist. A lot of guys are linguists and they do well, but I was not a linguist. But you learn enough to get by, and that's it. But anyway, and that was quite a tour in Egypt. That was quite a tour. Very unusual.
How's that?
Well, that's a good question.
That's what I do. I ask good questions.
Egypt is a very unique country. Egypt is surrounded by Muslim countries. And they have an army, and they have an air force, and they have their navy. They have the works. And they're very good people. But my job was to report back home on their army and their military forces, and I did so, and it proved okay for me. It wasn't easy, but I did enjoy the camaraderie with the Egyptian people. They're good people.
Yeah, did you get to see a lot of the country, the pyramids and all that?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
Yeah,
must have been something.
yeah, great people. Yeah.
So how long were you there?
2 years. Then I came back and I retired. Came back in '82 and I retired in '83.
Yeah. Somewhere along the line, you reached the rank of bird colonel, right?
Yeah.
How long were you a bird colonel?
Well, actually, I still carry that rank
Yeah.
because I'm subject to recall. if they felt they had a need for somebody with my background, they could call me back in. Now, and I'd be back in at the rank of colonel. But most of my time, I was a lieutenant colonel when I was an attaché.
How did you get to be an attaché? You must have had to go to schooling and all that, or what?
Well, there's a lot of schooling for it.
Yeah, I would think so.
Yeah, there's a lot of schooling for it, but you don't ask for it. They call they recruit you. They come down and tell you, look, we think you qualify for this, and we'd like you to give this some thought. And if you do agree to it, then you get your training, mostly in Roslyn, mostly language, because they want you to be able to speak the language and can move among the people.
Yeah, you got to be able to comprehend what's going on.
Especially the military people.
Yeah.
So you can report back about their country.
So you were attaché.
That's always been important in our country. Before World War II, we had to learn a lot about all those countries that we got involved with. Now, when I was in Sweden, we had good contacts with Finland, which is right on the Russian border, right there with the Russians. And Norway, Denmark, other Scandinavian countries.
Did you get to go visit them?
Oh yes.
Oh yeah. That must have been great.
Yeah, I was accredited to Denmark and to Norway, and I was assigned to Sweden. But because I was in Sweden and I had that extra training, I had to report some things about the other countries that are around Sweden: Norway, Denmark, Finland, and that's really where the job gets interesting and where it's productive to get information. Go to those foreign countries and see what their relationship is to your host country. Host country being scored, in my case, Sweden.
Yeah, we've always had pretty good relations with Sweden. Yeah. And I see now Finland just became a NATO. They just joined NATO.
Yeah.
You know.
That was bound to happen sooner or later.
You think so?
Yeah, we knew that was going to happen.
Yeah.
Yeah. I have no regrets about my career. I might have some minor regrets. I'll tell you one minor regret that I have. I was serving in Egypt at the time as the U.S. Army attaché, and I was at a point when I was going to be considered for promotion to general officer. And I didn't have any high-level foreign staff background. Mine was all in the Pentagon. So what I should have done, and here's where I regret, what I should have done was taken a weekend vacation, going down to Stuttgart, and presented myself there to staff and made a few contacts and just said, I'm available if you have an opening and you want somebody with my background, I'm available. And then I probably could have gotten an assignment so that I could have high-level staff work on my record, which I did not have. And I didn't have. Just about every general officer I knew very much helped themselves to get that promotion.
Yeah, I would think so, yeah. Yeah.
And I didn't. So I failed myself in that regard. So that's a minor regret I have, but I don't have any major regrets about my career overall. None. I served my country. I served in combat, and
Did you meet any really interesting people? Wasn't there an event that you witnessed or something that I heard about? Somebody got shot or something? You know what I'm talking about?
oh yeah. I was present when Anwar Sadat was massacred. I was there. As a matter of fact, I was about as far as I am to that gentleman right there.
About 20 feet. 15, 20
I was
feet.
in the stand, well, Anwar Sadat was paraded by in a vehicle, and then they stopped, and he got out, and he walked up to the reviewing stand, and there was a guy on the back end of one of the trucks that got out and followed him over, and killed him.
The guy that was with him killed him, or somebody else?
No, he was in the truck. He was in the lorry. It was a big truck.
Yeah.
And this guy was in the back seat, and he came and he we did some investigation behind that. He forced his way onto that truck because he wanted to get up there. He had intended to kill Sadat.
Oh, so he wasn't part of his.
Oh yeah, and he had connections too to other people that wanted Sadat killed.
Yeah.
Yeah. So anyway, that was
Yeah.
61 or 62,
Yeah.
somewhere in there.
It's a long time ago. Yeah.
Yeah.
That had to be something to
Yeah.
be there.
Well, yeah.
Did you ever meet any other foreign dignitaries? You must have met some of them along the line.
No. Well, yes. I got to know a lot of people, and I got to know a lot of people from my own country. Now, Norm Schwarzkopf, you may remember him.
Yeah.
Now, Norm was a high school classmate of mine at Valley Forge Military Academy.
Oh, really?
I was class of 51. He was class of 52. And he became very famous, very famous.
Oh, yeah.
Norm.
I'll
Yeah.
tell you, I used to do educational programs in the school system up in Oxford, Connecticut.
Uh-huh.
And I would go in and ask kids what they know and this and that. Come find out there was a kid there. He was Schwarzkopf's grandson. So, of course I never got to meet the general, but I met his grandson.
Yeah. Yeah, Norm was a class behind me at Valley Forge. Good guy, great guy.
Yeah, he was a great general.
Yeah.
So you did 29 years
29 years plus.
plus.
Yeah.
Okay. And when you got, now it's, you're coming out of the service. What did you do then? Just retired and lived a good life or what?
Oh, I got involved in a couple of businesses as a salesman because I had contacts throughout Europe, especially in Germany, and Sweden, Scandinavia, and even the Middle East. I had contacts in all those places,
Yeah.
and because of my contacts, I was hired by some companies to represent them for the sole purpose of promoting whatever it is that the company that hired me wanted to promote. whatever they had, they wanted to promote into a certain country out there. I was available to help them initially get some sort of contact
Yeah.
with the right people and find out who the right people are. That was what I did.
Well, sounds like an interesting life.
Yeah.
So is there any other than that assassination, is there any other memorable moment you had that, you want to talk about?
I did combat in Vietnam, and yes, there were some pretty rough moments.
Yeah. Yeah, especially then.
Yeah. Initially, in Vietnam, I was in an infantry position, although I was a field artillery officer. So yeah, we got into some firefight. We lost some men. I was never wounded by a bullet. I did get wounded by a punji stake. In Vietnam, there were holes that the enemy, if they were trying to protect a position, they'd dig a hole, maybe 18 inches deep, and then put punji stakes in there, pointed up like that, and then there'd be a very light cover, so that you walk along, you fall into it. These punji stakes come up into your leg.
Yeah.
They can.
Yeah, I've heard about that.
Punji stake can, and that can put you in a hospital for a long time.
So would you step on one?
Oh yeah. Yeah, right into the calf, huemo, right, huemo. Those punji stakes are, it's some sort of, almost like a straw, but it's very, very strong.
Like bamboo.
Bamboo, yeah. And they can do a lot of damage.
I'll bet. But,
So yeah,
well, I thank you for your service, sir. 29 years in the military and attaché, and it had to be you got to see the world, but a very interesting life. But you along the line you got married, right? Did you get married?
yes, I married while I was in the 82nd Airborne Division. My wife is from Dunn, North Carolina, right off the farm. Her dad had a very large farm there in North Carolina. And we were married in April '57.
You have kids? You have any kids?
We have 2 sons, 3 grandsons, and 2 great-granddaughters.
Great. Any of them serving in the military?
No.
No.
My eldest son is in London. He has his own business. He gets government contracts there in Britain.
Oh.
And he has about 12 employees in his company. So his company is pretty good size, and he does well financially.
Good.
My youngest son is right here in Florida. He lives in Dade City,
Oh yeah.
and he's 61. My eldest son is 63, and my great-granddaughters are 7 and 5.
Good. So anyway, well, sir, I think we're running out of time. Like I said, you had a very interesting life, and being a Vietnam veteran, I want to welcome you home, because we didn't get the best of welcome homes, but that's all right. We're here, right?
Yeah.
And the thing is to take care of our men and women nowadays, right?
Yeah. Well, I appreciate you calling me in and asking me to be interviewed. I appreciate that, and I hope that I haven't been a disappointment.
No. That's what we try to do. We try to preserve history, honor our veterans, and educate our young people, which they need to be educated about what goes on in the world.
That's a good motive.
Yeah.
That's a good motive.
Yeah.
Excellent.
Well, I think we're going to say goodbye. What do you think? Unless you have anything you want to say in closing. Pretty much said it all?
I'm sorry.
I say we're going to say goodbye unless you got something else you might want to mention.
Well,
right.
thank you for having me.
No, you're welcome. It's my pleasure to have you here, sir.
Okay. Well, I thank you for inviting me.
Well, I thank you for coming. So, to all our veterans out there, our active military and their families, we salute you for all you do. Till next time.
Yeah.
Okay, that's it. That's a wrap.
Okay, Bob.